Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because they agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as your law intellect. If you are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you so much for all of the support. Before we get started, I just want to address someone that was in the comments because I do go back on the replay comments because just because you missed the live video doesn't mean that I don't care about what you have to say. And so there was somebody that was in my comments that said you should get a new intro. So I say to you, like I said on the post, because I'm probably going to block you. So I'm just going to try to make sure you know specifically. You will leave this channel before this intro leaves this channel. So I'm going to need you to have a nice day and mind your own business. It's so many other channels that you can go to. So many other. I mean, do you want me to give you recommendations? But don't ever put that in my chat like ever on no day. All right. That's all I'm saying. And shout out to all of the ones that was in the comments trying to get that person together on my behalf. I appreciate it. But you get a little shine today on this video. But anyway, you guys know what we are here for. We have been covering the Sean Diddy Combs trial. We also went live yesterday to talk about this whole back and forth with juror number 6. As you guys see, the judge came in and I yesterday I was like, well, how is the judge gonna do anything different when he already told him not to come on Monday? So there was a long letter that was filed yesterday by the defense, basically talking about the prevalent and commonly known racial discrimination when it comes to jurors and all the case law. And then they go into how they felt like this was all racially motivated and all of the issues they've had from the beginning of this investigation all the way up and through now, things happening in the trial. They just decided to use this letter as a whole diary of all of their grievances and festivities. Okay. Well, of course, the government did respond today, but I don't even know if the judge read it because he already had it made up in his mind, obviously, that it was a no for him. He ain't changing nothing, even though he said he was going to think about it. He just probably said that because all of the attorneys was popping up and he wanted you guys to be quiet. Okay. So he said, all right, I'll entertain it. I'll think about it over the weekend. You think that man was really thinking about this he probably was thinking about everything but this case over the weekend. But anyway, the government filed this morning, and it said the government respectfully writes in response to the defense's letter filed earlier this evening. Despite the court's clear ruling on the necessity of removing the juror, the defense again attempts to cast the government's motion to remove the juror as racially motivated. As the court recognized on Friday after defense first lobbed the baseless accusation, nothing could be further from the truth. Instead, as the court laid out in detail after a careful review of the record, inconsistent statements made by the juror during voir dire and in later colloquies related to basic biographical information indicated a lack of candor. This caused the government to raise its concern regarding the lack of candor with the court, and the court to conclude the juror should be removed. Nothing in the defendant's letter undermines this conclusion. With respect to the juror, the government has no opposition to further fact finding. The remainder of the defendant's letter, pages worth of baseless ad hominem attacks on the prosecutor in this case, should be disregarded and rebuked. They want the judge to say, I rebuke you for talking about all of the stuff that we did wrong in this case. The court should not reconsider its ruling to dismiss the juror for reasonable cause. On June 13, 2025, after hearing from the parties on the record and written submissions, the district court properly concluded, after extensive factual finding, that it was necessary to remove the juror from the jury. Based on the court careful review of the record, the court concluded that the juror's inconsistent statements regarding his most basic biological information, who he lived with and where he lived, was cause for serious concern. Nothing that, even if the juror is, as a technical matter, qualify omissions or inconsistencies as to such a basic question as to where you live, raise serious questions concerning the propriety of maintaining the juror. In particular, the court noted that these repeated inconsistencies raised concerns regarding the juror's candor, ability to follow instructions, and possible deception that potentially undermine the trustworthiness of the juror's answers to other questions in voir dire. Very, very interesting, because a juror can be as inconsistent as they want to, and then you want to throw them off. But then you have a whole witness who they were able to show inconsistencies, or some may say perjury, and nothing. Her testimony gets to still remain. So we can look at Cassie's testimony, we could look at Jane's testimony, we could look at Mia's testimony and find some of the things that just the math was not mathing, but their testimony gets to remain. It's very interesting. So you want jurors to consider testimony that may have been undermined or have a lot of inconsistencies. But if they have some inconsistencies on residence, then clearly they have a lack of candor, and they actually can't be trusted to be on the jury. And again, this juror is Black. And they're saying that this doesn't have anything to do with that. It's the inconsistencies with the court. And particularly, the court noted that these repeated inconsistencies raised concern regarding their candor. I just read that. The court exercise of its broad discretion to remove the juror due to his lack of candor with the court was entirely proper. As noted in the government's June 11, 2025 letter and in the court's remarks on June 13, the court has broad discretion to replace the juror prior to deliberation for reasonable cause, and such removal does not require the consent of either party nor any additional inquiry. So you have the case law for that. Whereas here the court has ample factual support to remove a juror, there is clearly no prejudice to the defendant. Further, the defense's argument that the defendant would be prejudiced due to the juror's race finds no support in the law. Indeed, similar arguments have been rejected by the circuit. And so they mention U.S. v. Iverson, affirming dismissal of the jurors mid-trial for failure to satisfy the JSSA literacy requirement, and rejecting defendant's argument that he was prejudiced by dismissal since the juror was Black. So this is my issue. And I've seen there were a lot of people in the comments like, I don't see race. Why do Black people always got to go to race? Do you guys like not understand how many years behind Black people still are, because we weren't always on the same playing field? We weren't always equal. So for example, my mentor who worked for the city of Detroit, she actually filed a lawsuit when she became one of the attorneys for the city. And it was against like whoever the entities are for the police department and for the fire department. And basically the way it was set up, it was seniority based. So that meant that the next person who qualifies to get promoted, it's going to be based on how long you've been there. The problem with that is when you have where it was a point where Black people couldn't even be police officers or firefighters, it literally would have been that I believe it was around 2032 of which the first Black person would have got to that position based on seniority. So because of the underlying race-based discrimination, it keeps perpetuating later in years because we started out behind. So she argued about that and saying, to try to change the way the system was made. And I believe they ended up changing the rules. And of course, we've had several Black chiefs and Black, everything since then. And we haven't even gotten to 2032. So I say all that, it's not to just say, okay, well, it's because they're Black. Sometimes, like they're saying with this case, because the person couldn't read with the requirements or whatnot, that was an argument that was prejudicial because they were Black. It could have been from the underlying reason is because there was one point in history of which Black people they didn't want them to read. So there is some type of lagging from historical facts that still goes into today's system. And we all know that. So it's not that we're just like, oh, every time we do something, it's because we're black. They're doing it because we're black. That's not my mindset on what I think about. I think that there are ways. I think it's very interesting that you do have a government of which you have 9 preemptory challenges, and 7 of them, they just so happen to be black. And I'm sure the black people in the jury pool, it may have been diverse, but I'm sure it wasn't equal. It wasn't the same white, black, Hispanic. It wasn't split up like that. It is not. I've been in counties of which out of the whole jury pool, it was 2 black people out of 100 people that they called in. So it's not necessarily that it's diverse, but like they said, there's a lot of black people that try not to evade going. They don't want to be a part of the jury. They don't want to be a part of anything that has to do with the legal system. And part of that is the embeddedness that a lot of us have from the history. And it's like we're gonna try to eliminate the historical effects on black people and try to say, well, it ain't like that now. No, there are actual residuals to that, and it's still in the system. That's why you have the highest number of wrongfully convictions is black people. That's why you have a smaller percentage of minorities as the population in the United States, but one of the largest percentages in prison, because they went from slavery to basically the prison system. So if you look historically, when you go to the South, okay, they eliminated slavery, but then what they would do was create laws of which it would affect black people. So then they would arrest you, put you in jail, and then you would still be manual labor on the same plantations as a punishment, the same plantations to which the elimination of slavery was supposed to stop. They just found another way. You went from chattel slavery and you went to incarceration. Like, it is a pattern of it with black people. And I think, and maybe people that aren't black don't get that. So it's not that we're just like, oh my God, everything is because I'm black. No, we're in a system, we're in a country where we weren't even a whole person. We were just good because they needed us to fight battles that they couldn't fight, because they needed us to help them fight battles. There was always an agenda to include us with a lot of presidents. There was agendas to include us. So we're still behind the 8 ball, and to try to even act like we are all on the same page is delusional. So I understand where they're coming from. It's not just they always using it as an excuse. No, there is some authority to it. Are there some people that use it as an excuse? It's because I'm a black man. And me and my friend, I used to talk about it all the time. That's the good part of having people that are not just black, that are your friends. My best friend is white. And so I've learned a lot from her. She's Italian. I've learned a lot from her perspective as coming from a parents that were immigrants and came over here and could barely speak English even the day that her father passed away, to her perspective, to me being able to tell her my perspective. And she's a person that will go in front of a jury and bring up race too, because she knows, because we've had so many conversations about it. And she fights the same fight I do as being a white woman, because she knows the foundation of it when you actually look at the totality of it. So just to isolate it to what we are right now, which still isn't where we should be, but it's better than obviously what we used to be, to try to eliminate all of that is just, it's just not true. It's like you not knowing. So anyway, make sure you guys hit that like button. You guys got your historical lesson on today. You know what? A real paralegal said, I've assisted in several trials where me and the inmate were the only black people in the room. Me too. I've been in courtrooms where I was the only black attorney. I've been in courtrooms where you can tell the white attorneys was like looking at you like, oh, look at how far we been. We got the little black lady here. And treated you as if you were not qualified. We still go through that to this day in the courtrooms. So yes, the difference with this trial, and I'm not saying everything that Agnifilo and everybody else has waged has a real foundation to it. I'm not saying that I agree with all of the arguments that they have presented, especially at the bail hearing and all of that. But what I am saying, there is some truth to it when it comes to that area. And I think a lot of times it's minimized because people don't look at the totality of the circumstance. They just look at the now. That's all. I don't agree with it. And I told you why Instatran yesterday. I don't agree with that. About the banner situation. I don't agree with that. I think that when you say a picture is the day that you got, this is the day you got bruised and you got beat up, then it should match the date that it happened. You misspoke speaking on dates, that means you misspoke on your injuries. Because what are we doing? You misspoke on September while your friend said August. You misspoke. Like it was just too many inconsistencies in it. That doesn't mean I'm not saying yay or nay whether she actually whether Diddy did it. You know, I don't put nothing past Sean Combs, to be perfectly honest with you. But what I am saying is that it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And she used that picture as her proof, and the picture doesn't prove it. That's all I'm saying. Thank you, Queen Brielle, for gifting the memberships. I appreciate that. And Sal 44 say there are hundreds of RICO cases in the federal recorded targeting black men. That's interesting. I don't really know the statistics on it. But I ain't gonna say it would shock me. So yeah. You said welcome out to Angela Davis Esquire. I'm in it. That's what I tell people. I'm like, I appreciate everybody's commentary, and I love so many people that are not attorneys. And I told you guys that I appreciate just the excitement and interest that all of you guys and other people have in this criminal justice system or just the justice system, period, because a lot of people didn't care. The more people that care, the more you can side eye it and support people that need your support that don't have Diddy money. Just imagine if who's sitting here is Pookie from Fifth Street. Half of these motions wouldn't have been filed. Half of these aha moments and all of that would not have happened. All of this diligence that has happened in this case would not have happened because they probably have a court appointed that doesn't have the resources that the government has. And then they also have a court appointed that probably has 50,000 cases. I'm exaggerating, but a very large number. So there's a difference. This is why I said I just like to see, regardless to the outcome, I just like to see a defense team that can really come against the government to the point where I see the government making making some mistakes that I've just never seen before. Because now you got to be on your toes. You can't get away with little things that you may have been able to get away with in the past. But again, ultimately, all this is up to the judge. I feel like again, a lot of this stuff, I don't think the defense even thinks they're going to win. I just think they're trying to preserve the record for appellate purposes if he is found guilty, which is what you need to do because as I explained yesterday, if you don't raise these objections on the record, then you waive them. It has to be preserved. So yeah. Um Starfish said, I enjoy being the only black female technical consultant in my industry. Some of those folks look confused and admire you at the same time. Yeah, it's interesting. But you know what happens? The benefits, if we were to say there are any, to being the minority is they do underestimate you. And because you know that they underestimate you, you work harder, you work longer, you work more diligent on what you do, and you try to come across ready. What you guys see with Nicole Westmoreland is a very smart attorney who was able to find the metadata and the differences, who was able to cross-examine and do it to confirm the testimony, to make sure that you to go over all of the different steps in order to nail her in on what they needed to nail her in on, because you practice longer, you make sure you have all of your stuff together, because there is a stereotype assuming you were affirmative action. I don't know how that affects the bar exam because we all take the same one, but people still will say that it was some type of handout that you got to become an attorney, a doctor, or any of that. So I'll say from that standpoint, I always find the good in everything that can be beneficial. So yeah. Will I be following the dirt case? I might need a vacation after this one, TJ. I don't know. It's Mimi Ming said folks called one of my homegirls DV court case questionable because she named the wrong hotel. The guy ran to after assaulting her. She was like, really? Yeah, that's petty. Or like saying the wrong street. But what you have to do is say, I'm not certain. That's all the government could really do to try to rehab Brianna. But the problem that I had with that is there was a picture with a date. So how do you eliminate that whole picture when you said that's the day it happened and these are the injuries attributed to Sean Combs? And I think that'll be a problem in her civil case. American Isn't said the judge is an affirmative action judge. Just saying. Where did you get that from? And so what? If you have, there's first of all, he was appointed by the president of the United States. That's how he became judge. Now, what school he went to, and I think it was Harvard and Princeton or whatnot. I don't care how much. Yes, you have to have diversity because we get overlooked. That's where affirmative action came from. It wasn't they let people in with a 2.0. You have to be qualified to come into these schools. It's just now if you have a white person with a 4.1 and a black person with a 4.1, but you got 20 white people with a 4.1, you need to at least let the black person in. So it gives you a way up. Did you not just hear my whole conversation about how behind we are when it comes to seniority and getting to those positions? This man has a lifetime position on the federal court. So to call him an affirmative action federal judge is insulting. And I should probably block you. But I'm in a good mood today. The judge ain't black. Okay. So you think affirmative action only help black people? That part. Power dynamics said most affirmative action hires are usually overqualified. I just wish people look into their historical facts before they make these type of ridiculous statements. But I'm going to go on because we got some tweets to go over. The government does not oppose further fact finding. The defense argues that if the court removes the juror should also be removed, while the government disagrees with linking the issues involving the juror with those involving the other juror. So apparently there's a whole nother juror issue. All right, that's going to come up. So juror 6 has been kicked off, and then there's another juror I guess they're going to do insight to. The defense argues that if the court removes the juror blank should also be removed. I just read that, and then it's a bunch of redaction. The court should disregard the defendant's baseless attacks on the government. Finally, the government must respond briefly to the defense's reiterated attacks on the motives of the government motion regarding the juror, which the court has already rightly rejected for the artifice it is. There is a difference between creating a record to maintain a party's objection and devolving an ad hominem attacks on one's opponent. The second half of the defense's letter, in contravention of the court's individual rules, unfortunately falls into the latter category. They was kind of going in, though, in that letter with the bullet points. The government will not dignify yet another collection of baseless attacks, all of which have zero connections to the juror's issues pending, by addressing each misstatement and inaccuracy in the defendant's letter. Suffice it to say, the defense is wrong. In lieu of a point-by-point rebuke, however, the government offers the following. First, in straining to make out a supposed pattern of misconduct, the defense does nothing more than repackage specious accusations already squarely rejected by the court. Take the argument that there were material misrepresentations or omissions in the search warrant in the case as just one example. The court, in a thorough and detailed opinion, flatly rejected the defendant's claim. The same is true of other issues the defendant attempts to relitigate, including the government's exercise of preemptory strikes, for which the court found that there was zero evidence of racial motive. The defendant's allegations of leaks, which the court similarly found were unsupported, the defendant's motion for mistrial, which the court has repeatedly denied, and even the defendant's motion for bail, which was rejected by 3 separate federal judges after lengthy hearings. The court should take the defendant's recycled arguments for what they are: a refusal to accept the well supported decisions of the court and an insistence on casting aspersions without cause. Second, none of the particulars in the officer's handling of the case approach a pattern or overreach suggesting a discriminatory motive. The defense suggests, for instance, that there is something nefarious about staffing a case with 6 prosecutors or using a filter team despite the entirely neutral case-specific reasons for doing so. Indeed, the defense has similarly enlisted a large team, no doubt because of the vast discovery and speedy schedule of the case. Likewise, the defendant impugns the government's review of the defendant's non-privileged communications from jail, but defendants are repeatedly warned that their calls in jail are recorded, and there is no legal authority to support the idea that the review of those calls, a common investigative tactic in a broad range of cases, is improper. They're telling y'all, stay off them phones. Third, the defendant's letter contains allegations that are demonstrably false. Most notably, the defendant falsely claims that the government, quote, refused to engage with defense counsel during the investigation, end quote, including claiming that the government repeatedly refused to meet with defense counsel. As the defense well knows, from the time search warrants in this case were executed and throughout the case, the government regularly conferred with defense counsel. In sum, there is now, as ever, no basis for the defendant's attack on the government's conduct during the investigation and prosecution of this case, including its motives in raising the concerns regarding the juror to the court. The court well-reasoned conclusions regarding the juror should be affirmed, and any additional inquiry regarding juror, this is a different one, I guess, should be approached in the same even-handed fact-finding matter. So apparently there's a whole nother juror as well that we're going to get into. I think it's interesting too that the defendant is consistently talking about mistreatment, and that's one of Trump's biggest things. If he feel like you've been done wrong, because he feel like he was done wrong, that he would consider pardoning somebody. So they may be keeping a record for both purposes. So these are the tweets for today. Make sure y'all hit that like button on your way in. So again, we just went over yesterday the motion filed regarding Juror 6, and then today the government's response. Probably it wasn't there like real late last night, so they probably got it in at like 1, 2 in the morning. So this is team no sleep on this case. I think everybody's gonna take a vacation. So before the jurors come in, the judge comes in and says, I hope everyone had a good weekend. The defense motion for a NAPU instruction, which is what we went over yesterday, that witness Bongolan committed perjury. She was questioned at length on this. I deny the defense's motion. So they denied it, where they're not going to give the instruction to her about her inconsistent statements related to the injuries occurring on the same day as the balcony, and the same day that Diddy was in New Jersey and New York and all the other places that he was at during that time. So then they get on to Juror 6, which is what we just went over. The judge said last week the defense opposed further questioning of the juror. I took time to consider, the defense observes in its June 15th letter. The judge said the record raised serious concerns about the juror shading his answers to be on the jury. The shifting answers raised questions about the juror's credibility, so the court indicated Juror 6 should be dismissed. The defense now urges further questioning. The defense raised concerns about replacing an African-American juror with a white one and cites a Second Circuit case. The court takes this seriously, but further questioning is inappropriate and might negatively impact the jury. This is why we have alternates. Mr. Donaldson praised the diversity of the jury and said the process worked, quote, wonderfully. The defense asked the court to base its decision on race. That would be inappropriate, so Juror 6 is excused and is replaced by the first alternate. So that was the first order of business. Then the judge goes on, as to the defense's allegation of prosecutorial misconduct here, that is inviting the court to make a decision based on race and cannot be granted. As the issue about another juror that arose on Friday in a sealed session, I guess. So the judge goes on and says, I will question that juror at the end of today's session. The party should tell me if we clear the courtroom or do it in the robing room. So there's that. They brought in the jury, and the first person is the Anaya Sanker, who is the paralegal specialist at the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I told you she like does summaries, and they give her the information and she puts it in charts to make it more easily understandable for the jurors, and they can bring the charts in the back. However, they have to have someone on the stand to talk about to confirm that this is exactly what it is, what it says that it is, what it purports to say that it is, that they didn't just summarize it, change words or whatnot. So, what did you work on in this case? That's from the government. She says 2 summary charts I was asked to verify the accuracy of. So the government said, "Can you describe the documents underlying these charts?" She says it was 100 pages. Who is in the messages in the chart? Christina Coram. And whose cell number is this? Brendan Paul. How did Miss Coram respond to Mr. Lopez about seeing the escort? 4 laughing emojis. How long is he going to stay awake? So they're showing from these text messages, even though they don't have Christina Coram coming in on the stand, they're showing from these text messages, I guess, that she knew about these escorts, because you got, the government having text messages of people that ain't testifying at all. They allowed them in. So I don't know the basis behind that, but yeah. And this one from January 30th, 2023. Is it an audio file? Yes. Miss Foster, please play the first minute and 10 seconds. So the audio is playing. It's a female voice. And it says 2 things were weird. The only person who know was you. Someone found an iPad. And then she responds, yes. What did Christina Coram said in this? And then the lady from the AUSA says, she says he's going to the Four Seasons and wants you to bring Gatorade and chicken noodle soup. So then the government has her read something else. Read these. I'll be Dave Shirley, rock riding with him. And I guess this is Christina Coram. So these look like her text messages. No, not to rock. As of KK. So then Sanker says, as of KK, can you run $4,000 cash from Rock to the hotel? The government said, as being Dave Shirley, sure. And then the person that summarized and said, heads up, he's about to do Wild King night. And then the government, who is reading Dave Shirley, says, forgot to pick up the money. Just give it to Fahim just in case. So that's Dave Shirley that they're talking to. All right. So then the government said, what does the hotel write to Miss Coram? So the government's witness says that hotel called Paul is coming up. So the government says, does Paul appear elsewhere in the chart? She says, yes. Then the government says, let's turn off the exhibit screen to the public and press. And the judge said, just let me know when they're off. So then the government says, please read these between Jane and Mrs. Coram. So the government's witness is KK. Ask them if they can bring up 15 bath towels. So the government is Jane, says he always brings between 5 and 10 K. They are expecting people to leave the presidential suite at 1 p.m. So then as KK, we're taking off. So the government said, what are these about? So the witness says they are setting up a flight for Jane. The government said, what is this? She says, flight information from Jessica Ruiz to KK for Arthur Jr. Paul. Government said, and these? Can you pick up the cash for Guido at Mapleton? We know Guido is supposed to be the drug dealer. Jane says, as the government is Jane said, yes. Okay. All right. I'm trying to read what they got on there. All right. Hold on. I know it was more than this. Hold on. I hope this thread ain't break again. let me look at this other one then. Hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button. Okay. Let's see if they're in here. This Jen Just Law. So they're wrapping up their case today, I guess, with 2 summary witnesses. Somebody told me that the guy that got arrested for the drugs was supposed to actually testify, so I'm not sure. According to this, they're saying, let me pull this up. They're supposed to wrap it up with these summary witnesses, is what they're saying on here. I ain't in the courtroom, so I don't know what's true and what's not, but somebody said I thought the drug mule was supposed to testify, but I don't know. So they say as Combs' trial enter week 6, prosecutors are expected to wrap their case with 2 summary witnesses, Anaya Sankar and Delicia Penland. Penland will walk jurors through the March 2016 Intercontinental Hotel assault, where Diddy was seen on video attacking Cassie. So next expected witness, Brendan Paul, which was Diddy's assistant. Joseph Corresolo, summary witness, and Omar Hazari, law enforcement agent. Okay, let me go past this. Juror number 6 being dismissed. So the paralegal specialist who I just read from Inner City Press's account has Anaya Sanker as a paralegal specialist from the U.S. Attorney's Office for SDNY is now testifying. Her role is likely to support the government's case through records or data handling, often used to authenticate evidence or explain how it was obtained. Oh my gosh. They got all type of stuff on here. Anaya Sankor, the paralegal of the U.S. Attorney's Office, told the jury she reviewed hundreds and hundreds of pages, text, calls, videos, images to confirm the government's exhibit charts were accurate. Her role is to validate what the jury sees. So she oftentimes, for like evidence, we try to, what you call demonstrative evidence, we'll condense it so that, and we'll place it from the original version, like a text message, and put it on a poster board or put it on a slide. And so in theory, you're changing it. So it looks like they, like I said before, they have someone in that department who validates and affirms that they've looked through everything, and they don't work for one specific person, but their job is to make sure that accuracy of the charts. She said the paralegal confirmed she validated summary charts showing text, calls, and images the jury hasn't heard about in testimony, but are part of the official evidence. So there's some evidence that's in there that the jury hadn't even heard yet. So these text messages are going to be considered. And the charts are supposed to fill in the gaps that I guess some of the questions you all have. So honestly, it like fills in stuff with Christina Coram on what she knew, what she didn't know. Based on these texts, we've seen that apparently there was an alleged text of one of the escorts coming up and them having a conversation about them coming up. So it's like you knew the escorts were involved in some of this. You also did the flight with Jane. So you knew about this because they've already pretty much said they believe that they pin Christina Coram as being the co-conspirator because this is racketeering conspiracy. So after juror number 6 was dismissed, another juror is now under review for allegedly speaking about the case with a colleague. Couldn't keep the mouth shut. The judge already questioned him Friday and will revisit it later today. The juror handed over his phone to Judge Submaranian. These people on here. A new government chart shown to the jury zeroes in on text and audio messages from Christina Coram, Diddy's former chief of staff. Prosecutors claim she helped protect his reputation as part of the Combs enterprise. New texts from 2019 were read in court by a summary witness. Diddy's assistant messaged his chief of staff. LOL, I think I saw one of the cowboys today. You can spot them in the lobby like a escort. Quorum laughed. By the way, how long is he gonna stay awake? The jury saw a 2016 text between Diddy's staff about prepping a hotel night with Cassie. Christina Quorum says, "Hi, Dave, at your door with the green." Earlier, she texted, "He's probably about to do Wild King night." Dave said, "Ish need to re-up on baby oil and Ish." Now we got to re-up on the baby oil. The jury saw a 2021 text from Diddy asking his chief of staff if the hotel room was ready and stressing he didn't want the hotel to know it was him. Christina replied, "Wait until Jane and Joey get there." Later, she texted him, "Hotel call, Paul coming up." Jane testified Paul was a recurring third party during hotel nights. So this actually refutes anything saying like she didn't know what was happening. That's down the drain. The jury has shown 33-page chart of messages between Christina Quorum, Diddy's chief of staff, and various people in his circle, assistants Cassie and Jane. Quorum appeared to coordinate hotel bookings for freak-offs, cash deliveries in the thousands, escort arrangements via Cowboys and Angels. One 2019 message, by the way, how long is he going to stay awake? Cassie and Jane said these sessions could last 24 to 48 hours. So they kind of giving you a summary of why those messages are important. You can spot them in the lobby. A former assistant joked about spotting one of the male escorts used by Combs for freak-offs. Ryan Lopez texted Chief of Staff Christina Quorum in 2019, "LOL, think I saw one of the cowboys today. You can spot them in the lobby like an escort." We already pretty much went over that. Juror saw 2022 messages from Diddy's former chief of staff, Christina Quorum, discussing hotel nights with Jane. Quorum texted, "Your damage charges on the one hotel are always high." Quorum texted Jane to request 15 bath towels. Jane replied asking if security could bring 5K to 10K, noting Combs always brought cash. So Jane was asking for this money? Quorum relayed the messages to Combs. Jane asked if you could bring 5 to 10K cash. It's all in your safe. So she asked for the money, and then Christina contacted Diddy and was like, she asked for the money and said all the money is in your safe. So their point is, I guess, to say even though Jane Doe paid for this stuff, it was all Diddy's money. Guido package. Prosecutors showed juror messages from Christina Quorum, Diddy's former chief of staff, referencing Guido, a name multiple witnesses tied to Diddy's drug suppliers. In one text, Quorum told Combs Guido's outside. Another message mentioned picking up Guido's package. The jury saw text between Diddy and his team about a package from Guido, a drug dealer named by earlier witnesses. Christina Quorum, Diddy's chief of staff, confirmed in the thread that she was handling the delivery and also setting up a hotel room for him at the same time. Another thread showed Diddy's head of security, Fahim Muhammad, getting the green light to pay Guido thousands for drugs. The conversation included not just security, but also Combs' accountant, assigned this wasn't off books. The term flower, already established as code for marijuana, appeared again. Jurors saw a text from Christina Quorum asking Diddy to confirm that security should pick up before flying to Miami. He replied, "Molly, 15 pills." Later, head of security Fahim Muhammad texted that he gave 5K to an employee named Brendan, not for drugs, but for the hotel. The message included Diddy's account manager. This wasn't a rogue staff, it was an organized system. That's kind of what their commentary is. No one deserves to be dragged by their hair. Juror was shown a 2017 message from Cassie to Christina After an alleged attack by Diddy, Cassie wrote, "No one deserves to be dragged by their hair." Quorum asked if she was okay. Cassie said she didn't know why he acted that way, but needed to stay focused on her career. It's not just okay. I gotta take away their commentary. In May of 2017, Cassie texted Christina Quorum after an alleged assault by Diddy, saying no one deserved. That's the same thing. She also said she didn't have her belongings. She also said she didn't have her belongings or any money. Christina Quorum responded with concern and said she tried to talk to Diddy and help Cassie get her things. The jury saw this exchange. It asked to the let me say. In December 2023, Jane messaged Christina saying Combs threatened to show X tapes while she was heavily drugged to her child's father. She called traumatic. Quorum replied she hadn't seen Combs in 2 days and would call her. Prosecutors showed this to argue. Let me see. An audio file was also introduced, Jane confronting Diddy after Cassie's lawsuit. She said it felt word for word like her own abuse. So then the jury was on a short morning break. They say Diddy's mother is present in the court. While his children have attended on previous days, they have not yet shown up this morning. The jury reviewed a new set of messages from November 19th, 2023. So this was right after the lawsuit by Cassie, because I think it was filed on the 16th, involving Sean Combs. Combs and ex-security guard Damian D. Rock Butler. These were exchanges just after Cassie filed her rape and abuse lawsuit. D-Rock said, "Need to hear your voice, bro. I love you." Combs responded, "Thank you for checking on me. Really appreciate you. Love you." Court is back in session. Government's witness is walking juror through a new exhibit. Years of text between Diddy's longtime security guard, Damian D. Rock Butler, and others. I'm not understanding how they getting these texts in, though. How is that not hearsay? I don't know. Prosecutors say Butler was key to the Combs enterprise, not just muscle, but an insider to the alleged racketeering. Okay, defense attorney Tenny Garagos read a February 7th, 2024 message from Diddy to Mia, his ex-assistant. Quote, "You were my right hand for years. Just needed my memory jog. Would be good to hear your voice." Mia didn't respond. D-Rock later said her phone rang like she was out of the country. No further call attempts from Combs were found. So there was one call, I guess, where he called Mia, and that was it. Under cross, defense highlighted a Valentine's 2022 message from Jane. Christina Quorum said, "I'm excited to surprise him." Jane sent a photo of a hotel room she decorated with rose petals and balloons for Diddy. Okay. My answer to him is no. On cross, defense show February 25th, 2023 text messages Jane and Christina Quorum. Quorum said, "He's pushing me to figure out plans." Jane said, "My answer to him is no, and it's still no." Quorum replies, "She'll inform Combs and ask Jane to update her if anything changes." Okay, with the paralegal under cross, defense lawyer Tenny Garagos read text from Combs' head of security, Fahim Muhammad. Muhammad had asked Combs, Christina Quorum, and Combs' accountant for approval to disperse funds from PD personal. So they're basically trying to say, I guess, that this is coming from his personal account. It's not coming from the business. So that's what the accountant was. So when they talked about the accountant earlier, I think there was an assumption, oh shucks, now it's going into if it's your accountant for your business. But they're negating the fact that some people have personal accountants as well. So they're showing a text where Muhammad was like, needed funds to disperse from his personal account. And that's what they're saying to the accountant. It wasn't just to negate the business aspect. Now they got company card questions. One reminder raised in court, a former Combs assistant testified he used a company card to buy personal items, like this is their commentary, but didn't know if the charges were paid with Combs' own money or through business accounts. And the cross-exam ends. Defense attorney Tina Garagos has completed her cross-examination of the paralegal. Sanker, the summary witness who walked through the jury through charts and messages logs, is now off the stand. The agent is called to verify evidence charts. Delicia Penland, who is a special agent with the U.S. Attorney Office for the Southern District of New York, has taken the stand. She's serving as a summary witness responsible for checking that the prosecutor's charts and summaries are accurate. Penland told the jury she reviewed the case materials to confirm they match the actual evidence submitted. The prosecution unveiled a 71 entry chart linking Sean Diddy Combs, Cassie, and alleged escorts to flights, hotel bookings, and freak-off videos. Agent Delicia Penland testified the chart only includes people confirmed on video at what prosecutors now call a meeting. So there's that. All right. So that's where we are. What do you guys think, huh? Yes. Judge decided to allow the data evidence from that second phone he didn't turn over, but is this the our phone? I'm wondering. I don't know. Yeah, they probably did rule to let it in. Somehow they did. I saw somewhere this is from a phone they seized from KK. Yeah, they did seize her phone. I know they seized her phone, and also there was a phone, I guess, that they missed. And he started talking to somebody, and his infinite Diddy wisdom decided to talk about this phone that was missed. I don't know if it was over a phone call. I'm assuming it was a jail call. So, girl, what's the tea? Now, what I will say is that the text by the government actually shows. So when people are asking, why aren't you allowing Christina Quorum to come in? Why aren't they calling her or whatnot? It's probably because they feel like they got enough information in text to prove their point that she knew exactly what was going on. Even if they set up the rooms, she was part of getting them escorts there. So they're saying, I told y'all it's conspiracy to commit RICO. So you have to have an agreement. So they're saying there was an agreement. This is what the government is trying to show. There was an actual agreement with Christina Quorum, who knew that these people were coming. Maybe it was I don't know if she was a part of booking the flights. Maybe she was. They may have said that. I know they said she obviously was booking the rooms because they already showed her name was on there. Yeah, that's their whole point. They want Jane and Cassie to be victims, but if as much as they are involved in it, I don't understand. I started thinking, oh, maybe they the co-conspirators because for what they're being alleged to, talk about. All right, what else y'all gotta say? You said Diddy looks like Tyrone Biggin. Danielle, like, I want to know if she pinched off the cash. That's what she picked. Let me pinch off about 500 and see if they miss it. You said just 10K and tucked it in her. You are silly, Danielle. Classy said, how do you give a drug dealer immunity to testify against the addict? Danielle said, that's why. See, what it sounds like is after a while, just like what one thing Capricorn did say is that, and this is to your point, Danielle. One thing Capricorn did say is that she stopped liking Cassie because Cassie started looking like thinking she was her assistant. She like, listen, homegirl, we cool, but I don't work for you. I work for him. He the one write my check. And it looks like with some of those texts, it shows Jane was asking for stuff like she didn't say, Diddy told me to tell you to send the so and such and such. She was sending these texts out herself. We gonna need about 10K to cover everything that just happened on in this room. And then she didn't respond to Jane. She responded to Diddy. Like, Jane just texted me about A, B, C, D, and E, and you got money in your safe. So I think a lot of these people, they start getting comfortable as if they are his mains, and that they can start dictating and telling his staff what to do because of who they feel their place in his life is. I think that does happen. And then, because just like Cassie, she became upset because she thought D-Rock and all them was her friend. Why, I don't really know. But she thought all of them was her friend. So y'all allowing him to see other women and stuff, like, and we're together. Like, they thought it was a loyalty there. It's not no loyalty with you. You're just another one of his, people he was messing with. Yeah, it was only two of us on the jury. Michi, two males. I don't know about the females, but it's only two black males, and one of them just got removed. Classy said all these women consented. TJ said he was really sloppy. Classy said, man, free Puffy. This case is ridiculous. And Max said this shows how the enterprise coordinated these events. Someone who was just a freak with his girl would do all this himself. Not a rich man, and Mac. A rich man, they don't do. Look at Capricorn. She said her job was to shadow him. They wake him up in the morning. They make sure somebody cooks his breakfast. He don't do nothing. He doesn't do anything hardly for himself. So his job is he just gives a bunch of orders. He pays. He has 4 personal assistants, they said, typically at one time. And then Christina was, I guess, the supervisor. So yes, they ran his life, and that's what their job was. If he wanted them to go to grab some more baby oil and some powder or something, then he going to get that oil and powder. If he like a certain type of pop or soda, depending on how you guys, name it, he going to the store to get that. That's what people with money do. And I think it's hard. One of the reasons why you want a jury of your peers is because you want people to be able to kind of relate, like where he came from and how you go from something to nothing, that type of thing. These people probably can't even wrap their mind around half of this stuff about how rich people really live. Oh, he decked out a jet for my birthday, for her birthday, and had roses, and she was in the Chanel shop shopping, and I wanted to be in the Chanel shop. He only bought me a $5,000 bag, and he bought her a $13,000. They probably looking like, what are we doing right now? So yeah, do I think it was a lot of consensual? Yes, I do. But I think they are trying to form an enterprise using KK. Now, I do like a co-conspiracy to commit racketeering. I do think that they're trying to use her as the co-conspirator. And what is one of the underlying crime? Sex trafficking. Now, if they don't aren't able to prove sex trafficking, then that's a whole nother situation. Yes, that's the core issue is consent. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, the judge does say don't talk about the case every single day, and people don't listen. They don't listen very well, so now they're going to stand before the judge as well. I don't know how many questions they had, Road Dog, because these are people that are giving on this page, they're just giving a summary, and on the other page from Inner City Press, let me see if he got more stuff on here. I don't even see. I don't even see unless her. Let me see if I can find another link. Let's see. Oh, so wait a minute. Hold on. Let me show more supplies. Oh, yeah, his thread is breaking again. So what he did have on here is, hold up. With the jury out, the judge asked, shall we address Mr. Brendan Paul now? The government said better tomorrow morning. So Brendan Paul is going to testify tomorrow. So those people telling me it was going to end today, apparently that's not accurate. See, this is what happened when you ain't in the courtroom yourself. The judge said the special agent will be on all day, and the government said even until tomorrow. That Mr. Paul is the final summary witness. So Brendan Paul is the final witness. What witnesses would the defense be putting on Friday? So they start Friday. Combs said 3 witnesses: Vashta Wilson, Stefan Lind, and a paralegal in their office. Who is Vashta Wilson? Y'all know who that is? Can I Google Vashta? Vashta Wilson. Oh, from Bad Boy. Let's see. Vice President of Operations of Bad Boys. Let's pull up Vashta. Let's see. So this is supposed to be Diddy's first witness on Friday. Vice President of Operations at Bad Boy Entertainment. That's all y'all got? I already knew that. This is her, I guess. Vice President of Human Resources and Operations, Vashta Wilson, based in New York, United States, is currently a Vice President of Human Resources and Operations at Bad Boy Entertainment with the robust skill set that includes leadership, management, performance management, transportation, legit. She basically gonna tell y'all this is a legit business, okay? I think it's what Vashta got to say. She's the one that interviewed these people. Okay. All right. So her name has come up, it looks like, in this trial. I just, missed it apparently. Okay. Who else did they say? We got Vashta Wilson, Stephen Lind, or Stefan Lind. They said something was wrong with the spelling. Is it Steve Lind? I don't know. They keep putting Stephen A. Smith. Let me see what y'all gotta say. Thank you for becoming a new member, Irie Vibes. I appreciate y'all know who that person is. MX said Vashta Wilson was in HR. She needs to explain why all these employees were only getting 2 to 4 hours of sleep on a good day. Blaze said, Pam, if one is under the influence of drugs or coercion against the law. Well, under the influence of drugs, if you've been drugs, if you're being drugged, that's a problem. These people were taking drugs. So, of course, you're not supposed to have drugs, period. It's against the law, illicit drugs. However, these people were taking drugs on their own volition. Nobody said he just shoved it down his throat, down their throat, except for one. You had Jane towards the end mention an incident in 2024. And this was after the Cassie lawsuit, obviously, and after the raids of his homes and the whole violent fight thing. She's alleging that he was like shoved a pill and was like, here, take this pill. We about to still get it in tonight. So that's the only time we really saw that. So to answer your question, if you slip somebody a pill in a drink like they were alleging on the internet was happening, then yes, that would be illegal, and then have X with them, because that's not really their consent. They can't consent because they're being drugged to do it. But if you decide to take some drugs or take a little something because you feel like it's going to enhance your performance, generally speaking, I mean, that's not coercion or force. You're doing it by your own volition. Um, and then they added like the paralegal. I don't know what the paralegal got to do with it, so I don't know. Judon said there was something that one of the government witnesses testified to regarding HR Bad Boy. I forgot who and what specifically. There was a few things they said about HR. Remember, there was a lady that allegedly told Capricorn Clark she was owed $80,000. I don't know if that was her, but she said because she never got her overtime. So the $80,000, and then it was you're paying all these people, they're not getting overtime. Then it was some situations with letters on discharge, like when Capricorn got fired, that would have came from HR. So they're probably gonna give their rationale on the reasoning why that they did what they did. It looks like the feds didn't get that many people to flip. No, they're resorting to finding ways to get hearsay statements in by saying it's not used for the truth of the matter asserted, or they're going to say it's used to corroborate somebody's testimony as a prior consistent statement, or they're finding ways to try to get this stuff in because this stuff is hearsay because Christina isn't in there and D Rock isn't there. DST said the prosecution presented a lot of salacious information. The defense is going to present the more professional business side of the information. That's from DST 1095. Blaze said, in my opinion, there was consent, but also persuasion for guests to perform certain demeaning acts with multiple people. That's from Blaze Brown. Can't wait for them to pull out job description that say other duties as a side. I don't know how you separate that because as a personal assistant, you do personal things. You pick people, you pick kids up from school, you buy the wife flowers, and oh yeah, my anniversary. Make sure you pick up the wife a nice gift. Go to Chanel. They get you dinner, like they'll set up reservations. Personal assistant is just that. You need somebody to basically manage your life because you're so busy. All right, let me see if they say anything else before we get off of here. Because these threads are really broken. What's this? This man be working on all these cases over here in the United States. Okay, let me pull this part up. Let's see. If I pull up, I do need a personal assistant in real life, man. But if I pull up what you say and I just look like and don't say anything, that means I want you to think about what you just said. That's it. So all I want you to do is think about what you just said and connect it to whatever commentary I gave or whatever tweet we just read. And I want you to ask yourself, does this really make sense what I just said? Does this really correspond to what's being said right now on this tweet? So I'm gonna have, how they say when you get out of school, you have in the summertime, you have learning loss. So they send your kids with packages so they can make sure they keep up with their learning. I think some people you just can't give it to them. You're gonna have to just say, I want you to think about what you just said. That's what I want you to do for me today. Just in case you guys were wondering like what I was doing when I was like, that's all. Let's go on. Let's see what the testimony says as of right now. So the judge says, in terms of defense experts, so they're just going over what the game plan is for the week. So this case will probably be done next week, as I suspected. Like I told you all, somebody in the chat was still telling me the government got 4 more weeks. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna repeat myself that this is not lasting as long as they said it was gonna last. Judge said, in terms of defense experts, I like the Dubar issues teed up. And the government said, we'll work on it. Shapiro said, we'll be providing the government with a supplemental response to Dr. Hughes' actual testimony. Then Shapiro said, the special agent has no personal knowledge. She is just connecting up exhibits and asking the jurors to interpret them. This is not appropriate for summary witness. It's just hotel records and flight records. So now they fighting over whether this witness should be able to testify, that summary witness, but the agent is going to be on, it sounds like, all afternoon and this morning. That's it. Judon said, remember Farnsworth Bentley was ironing Diddy's clothes for him. Really rich people delegate all the money. He was an umbrella holder. We knew him as the man with the umbrella. Yes, the stuff that we have to do just as every day, our basics, he probably had people that would brush his teeth for him. So it's a difference. That's all I'm saying. It's definitely a difference. So all right, y'all. Did you hit the like button? Did you subscribe to the channel? I know you did. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. Let me see if anything's happening. I did watch Armand's commentary last night. I was like, oh my goodness. Parental discretion is advised. That's all I'm gonna say. He was getting detailed and down and dirty with that escort. I don't see anything else. So they're trying to iron out some stuff, and it sounds like perhaps they're trying to iron out some stuff, and it also sounds like this agent is going to be the one to testify. So I may or may not come back unless he says something that's like boom. But I did want to make sure I came on this morning so we can get the finality of this juror number 6 we've been talking about for over a week. They literally let him sit on. They had an issue with him, and he sat on 2, 3, I think, more days even after that. I'd be pissed off, wasting my darn time. But again, like I suspected, I said he probably was talking to somebody like, I'm taking the train in from New Jersey. That's why I'm late every day. And they was like, from New Jersey? Ain't you from the Bronx? That's what you told us in voir dire? All right. All minds clear. Anybody have any more questions? Well, you said, how can the government give all those people immunity and get caught lies and not be charged? Because because the court, in my speculation, because again, I didn't see all the transcripts, but it appears that the court believes that these people, especially Brianna, was doing so many drugs. It's not uncommon. We could not be doing drugs and get dates wrong. But these people were doing drugs, and so they may not necessarily remember exact dates, times, and I guess places. So I think that's what they're going with. So there's that. He was running his chops. Oh man, came rushing in off the train, sweating with his backpack, like, man, shoot, I'm coming from Jersey. It was like, Jersey. All the little depths in the back was like, Jersey. Yo, we gotta alert them over there at the government. We gotta alert them. This man ain't even from New York. He ain't from New York. He from Jersey. Well, how are they charging him when he was a drug addict? I don't know. Shoot, that's what I said. Are they gonna use it against him too? Because he ain't know half the stuff he was doing. He was higher than them. They said he took way more drugs than the other people did. I know people that do IVs and stuff every day, period. But yeah, I'm sure with all them drugs in order to function, because he had a successful empire. So he was definitely a functioning drug addict for sure. Well, we'll see if they wasted their time. Depends on what the jury says. Key Hype said Cassie said she saw the balcony incident, then later said she heard it. Yeah, she said she saw it in her lawsuit. You get the comment of the day, and the comment of the day goes to Judon. He said Jane's phone must have caught a contact. That would explain why the metadata was wrong. But when you get flicked, you got to get the names right. So that would have been Brianna. Okay, that probably would have been Brianna's phone where the metadata was in there because she's the balcony incident. All right, y'all. Something happened. Something's going to be filed to this here docket, and we'll go over that. Yes, they did. They put in a proposed jury instruction that pertains to the statute of limitation for RICO, racketeering conspiracy. And that was a proposed jury instruction. So that would be something that the judge has to agree with after they argue back and forth. Yep. Let's see. So then the next tweet said from AUSA Comey, Mr. Combs and Jules Theodore were discussing being in the same place at the same time. If this objection is sustained, we'll just have the special agent read in every text message. The judge said this witness has no personal knowledge. She put together the chart. So now I guess it was a break. So yeah. So apparently there is no specific knowledge. They just put the chart together, whoever it was. All right, y'all. Oh God, this judge is over it. I think you're right. Here's Brianna said, "How is he from New York? They have loose lips. Y'all know how to keep secrets over there, Brianna? Is that what you're saying? Y'all don't. That's because you friendly. Y'all I ain't gonna say everybody. I done met some mean people in New York, but I done met some real friendly ones that, hey, what's up? You all right? Everything good? How's the family? Like they know you. So maybe that's the whole just trying to have a conversation, because also you've been late 2-3 times. So he's probably was just trying to explain himself. But anyway, y'all, you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. And I hope everyone on the replay enjoys it as well. As always, I enjoy chit-chatting with you. Make sure if you have any more comments, comment below, when we get off this video. And your girl will be going through there periodically. But if you say some things like talk about this intro, I'm calling you out, okay? Because it's a no. All right. But other than that, everyone, give your opinions. That's cool. Just don't be disrespectful in the chat, just like I do on the live stream, or I will delete your comment. And if it's really egregious and I know that you just ain't the people for over here, then you'll be blocked. So I'm going to holler at y'all later. Enjoy the rest of your day. Gotta go.